Boom, everybody, welcome back to this channel. My name is Jeff Anozie, and I am your real estate consultant. The goal of this show, welcome back to the Real Estate Show. The goal of this show is basically to help you make more informed, as they say, information is power. So by the time you have a lot of information around the real estate industry or around buying a property and everything, you will make better decisions and better buying decisions. So our goal on this show is to help you make safe, profitable, and peaceful real estate investments in Nigeria. And with me on the show is Mr. Raymond Ijeomah. Welcome back on this show, sir. Thank you so much for joining on here again. Again, can you please just introduce yourself so that we can just go right into business?
All right. Thank you so much, sir. It's always a pleasure being here. Again, my name is Raymond Ijeomah, and I'm a lawyer, a property lawyer with that niche here, and the managing director of 40 Ready Limited. I think that's basically that. As time goes on, we'll get to know each other more.
Awesome. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for jumping here. Welcome, everybody. Welcome for those that are just watching us for the first time. I'm Jeff Anozie, and I'm with my colleague Raymond. And on this show, the Real Estate Show, we basically have been sharing from last week. We've been sharing on the topic how to avoid the wrong real estate investment, and this is the part 2. The whole idea is to point out the red flags to a bad real estate deal. What are the things you will see? What are the things you should see and avoid, and that can help, that can point to a potentially bad real estate deal? And that is what we've been talking about from last week. So quickly, if you're new on this channel, please hit the subscribe button, like this video, kindly share it as well with your friends, family, loved ones, so that as many people as possible will be able to have the right information when it comes to real estate, to avoid them making wrong real estate deals. So quickly, last week, we looked at 3 different points as to the red flags, all right, that you should avoid when trying to make a real estate deal, all right? And it's so interesting that these things are supposed to be common sense. However, because we have not been pointed to it, how you can have something lying somewhere and you may not notice it until someone literally points it out to you. And that has been the experience from last week. For a lot of people, we got a lot of messages, a couple of messages from people that enjoyed the show, all right? And so today, I'll just run through for a minute the points we made last week. The first we talked about, Mr. Raymond tried to let us know that there are 2 basic things that influences, all right, the price of a real estate transaction. The first, he said, was the location, and the next is the documents, right? And you made mention of something, sir. You said that you cannot give what you do not own or what you do not have, all right? And so it's important that, first of all, right, the person you're trying to buy the property from, either a land or a house, actually owns it. And so that's what the document, all right, shows. The document shows who the rightful owner of that particular property is. And he went further to point out to a particular part of the document called the recital. The recital. I'm sure a lot of people haven't heard about that part, or we've largely ignored it, all right? The recital. This is the section of the document, whatever kind of document you have, that shows the history of that particular property. It shows from the inception of the property through passing down to, to the point in which you are trying to buy. In fact, if you've not watched that show, last week's show, please go and watch it. It's somewhere in the channel. It was very insightful. He went ahead to talk about a particular part too that a lot of us ignore, especially when you're buying a property from a family or from a community. And you know how we assume from this, because of the part of the world we're from a patriarchal culture, right? Where it's assumed that as the first son, all right, once the father or the head dies, then the first son automatically assumes ownership of the property. And Mr. Raymond went ahead to really give us some good insights around that and how to actually legitimately lay claim or assume ownership of that particular property. It was a very insightful show. And today we're going to be going on from there. We're going to be going on from there today. And if you're like me, I advise you get your pen and notepad and take notes. You are going to learn a lot, and believe me, you stand out from the rest of from the rest of people that actually make a lot of mistakes, when it comes to real estate in Nigeria. All right, sir. I've talked a lot already. Thank you so much. Over to you, sir. Sir, last week we talked about these red flags, but we could not cover the entire point we had last week. This is the part two of the red flags to avoid in a real estate show. Please, over to you, sir.
Again, thank you so much, Mr. Jeff. I really, really appreciate this opportunity. And to those listening to us, we are glad that you are joining us. We do not take your audience for granted. We do not take your attention to us for granted. And as a matter of fact, we are doing this for you. This is for you. Because apparently you're not paying for this session. We are just out here to ensure, to educate you. One of the phrases I love to use so much is be real estate smart. Majority of the things I do online as real estate education is concerned is to ensure that you are real estate smart, right? I also try to make my audience understand that I am not perfect. Mr. Jeff is not perfect. I'm a lawyer, yeah? The law itself is not perfect. So there's nothing that we do as far as the whole transaction is concerned that is perfect. However, it's a place of experience, knowledge, and something you have done over time. You have a way of finding out when something is wrong at some point. There's a way that Mr. Jeff will handle the property that will totally be different from how you handle it. A quick example. For the past 3 days, my car was giving me issues, right? And eventually, I kept on going from one mechanic to another, right? And eventually, on the third day, I went to somebody. I was referred to someone who, in the words were that the guy is good. And eventually, I got there, and in a space of 30 minutes, this guy touched this, touched that, touched this, touched that. And then he did something. I could have done that myself. And all money on for days. Eventually, this guy solved the problem in 30 minutes. That's what we're talking about. I am not a mechanic. He has over time learned a lot in the field. And that took him to that place to solve a particular problem. So my 3 days of wasting my time looking for a mechanic to handle, eventually he solved that problem. So that was the point, the angle where we are coming from, right? So basically, we really are doing this for you, and we intend that you will be real estate smart and, of course, make a lot of money. Because there's money.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for that, sir.
From where we stopped last week, I exactly can't remember the number we stopped, but I intend also sharing very quickly 10 today, and I hope that within the short while that we have, we'll be able to do that. And first on my list, I'd like to talk about the fact that if you're trying to buy a property and the people selling to you, or the agent or whoever is presenting the people selling to you, are irritated by numerous investigative questions that you are asking. As a matter of fact, when you buy a property, you must wear your detective gown, wear your detective shoes. Because really, there are a lot of questions you should ask the person you are buying from, and the person should be in a position to answer you
Answer
patiently.
you.
You understand? Because
Yes, sir.
if really there are just a lot of questions to ask. When a seller really, from my experience, when I meet someone who really is ready to sell a property and there's a level of genuineness attached to the property, when you are asking the person questions, the person is happy answering you, knowing that he's doing everything he can to convince you to buy that property, right? And part of what his goal would be at that point in trying to convince you will be playing the transparency card.
Hmm.
Do you understand? Because I
Yes,
do
sir.
not want to buy a property from me and you're like, okay, where's the title document? You start
Mm-hmm.
telling me, yes, sir. If I really need the money and I want to sell, even if I'm an agent, I do not have to be the owner of the property to be transparent. If I'm an agent and I'm really looking out for my 10% in quotes, by the time a prospective buyer is asking questions, I want to be glad to answer them such that the person is convinced to want to buy or to convinced to want to pay a particular amount of money, and also to see through transparency that this property is genuine. Because nobody wants to bring out 10 million naira to buy a property when he is not satisfied. He's not satisfied with what he wants to get or what he wants to invest in, right?
True.
So if they are irritated, unnecessarily irritated by your questions, especially when you are asking the right questions, when they are unnecessarily irritated, something is wrong. Something is really wrong. That's from my experience. I've seen that over time. And once they start giving me that unnecessary irritation, I move. There's no. If you want to do business, we should do business on the terms that I understand you, you understand me. Property, real estate, buying and selling is simply business. It's just the same way you want to buy something from somebody in the street, and you're like, okay, hope this one a genuine one. Hope this one is good.
Yeah.
And the person like, it makes sense. Well. You will try to convince me to want to buy, right? The
Yeah.
same thing for
Yeah.
property. Is try not to look at, okay, it's property, it's land. It's simply buying and selling. If I ask you a question as a seller, you should answer me satisfactorily and not get pissed off, right? So
Agree.
that's the first I want to talk about. So they get necessarily irritated by your questions, the right questions that would dig out some kind of things. If they are necessarily irritated by those questions, that is an issue. All right. And
Yes.
number two, be sure who you are buying from in the community. Now, understand that lands in Nigeria are generally mostly communal. Mostly communal. When they are not communal, they are family owned. And when they are not family owned, they are individually owned. And most of the times when it's individually owned, it would have the title would have flowed from either a community or a family or something. But by law,
Yes.
generally, most of our lands are communal. Before the Land Use Act of 1978 came into play, our lands have just been like that. This community owned this land, this family owned this land, and all of that.
Oh.
Now, when it gets to a point where you want to buy a property from a community, it is important that you are buying from the people who are custodians or trustees of that land, of that property. For instance, Mr. Jeff is the head of the community. Mr. Jeff is the head of Jeff Fremont community, right? And
Yeah.
one Mirabel out of the blues or part of the elders in the community just wakes up and property. What you should understand again, I think this is a very powerful principle in law as far as property law is concerned. Again, is that principle of You cannot give what you don't own. Now, as custodians in that community, they are empowered, they are entrusted with the ownership of that land for the purposes of transferring title on behalf of the community to other people. Mr. Jeff, I hope I'm being clear enough.
Yes.
Mr. Jeff, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so back to what I was saying. If an elder amongst the people who are entrusted, let's say for instance, the chairman of the community or the head of the community, his advisors, the secretary, and all of that, there's a clique who are bestowed with the right to transfer interest on behalf of the community. Now, if an elder amongst that clique decides to sell a property to you, the logic is, does he have the right to sell solely a community land to you? Now, here is the point. Somebody who is not a custodian, and not in a community, really, there can never be just one person who is a custodian. There are a set of people. That is why when I'm negotiating or trying to do a document for any client who is buying from a community, I always insist that not only one person must sign that deed of transfer, that document. The head must sign. At least two other elders in council, the secretary must sign. Then at least one or two other elders must sign. To show that at the time in question, the people who sold land to me are the people who are the trustees and custodians in that community at that particular point in time. So here is it. By the time one person wakes up and decides to say, okay, it's community land. Okay, for instance, you ask a question, who owns this land? He will say it's community land. You want to sell it. How? What is giving you the power or the right to sell it? By the time the person says it's community land, I'm an elder, but I want to sell it. Do you try to understand me now? If the person is not a custodian, a constituted authority as part of those who should sell that land, it is an issue. I did this for not a client, it wasn't my client, it was a colleague of mine who called me. He was asking questions as regards how he's going to put together his recital for a land he was selling. He was doing a deed of transfer for, and he asked me a question. After I asked the question, I asked him back another question, and eventually his answer revealed something. What his answer revealed was that it was the secretary of the community that wanted to sell the land solely to his client.
Wow.
And I asked him a question. What gave the secretary the authority to sell? Is he selling in his individual capacity or selling for and on behalf? If he's claiming to sell for and on behalf of the entire community, number one, the money should not go into his account. Number two, he should not be the only person selling that land. The head of the community at that point in time must sign. He should sign, and as well, if it's possible, another elder from that community should sign that document, showing that. I hope you understand me, Mr. Jeff.
Yes, totally.
So, saying this will not make sense at this point, but when I was trying to insist on all of that, his response to me was, the genuineness of the land is not his concern. His own is to do the deed. And I'm like, if that doesn't make any sense, right? You should trace it as far as represent your client's interest as you should. So at the end of the day, the transaction didn't go forward because something was revealed, that a red flag was revealed at the end of the day. So that's basically whoever you are dealing with in the community must represent the constituted authority or the custodians or trustees who should transfer that interest to you. That's number two. So if the person is trying to hide things and not follow the due process, that is a red flag. That type actually is the type you should want, in my opinion.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. This is eye-opening. Like, this is very, very, and to think that these are the things that make people lose their hard-earned money, lose some serious, serious, serious money. These are the little things. And not knowing these things empower those people to dupe us more.
Exactly. That is absolutely correct.
Wow, this is deep. Thank you so much. If you're just joining us, you're live on the show, the real estate show, and today we are talking about the part 2 of how to avoid the wrong real estate investments, like red flags to look out for. And we've been having the most amazing time with Mr. Raymond Ijeomah. Wow. So if you're just joining, if you're liking this, please hit the like button. If you've not subscribed to this channel yet, please hit that subscribe button down there, and also turn on the bell beside it, so that whenever we come on live with this type of event, you will be the first to know. So please go on, sir, because we're enjoying this and want to have more. Please, if you have questions, please leave it in the comments box. If you have questions, please leave it in the comments so that we can answer you as we go. Thank you. Please go on, boss.
All right, sir. Number 3, decision in process, but you are not very sure of decision in process. Basically, decision in process. This is very common for people in Lagos. Very common for people in Lagos State. And explaining the decision in process thing is a little bit long. But in summary, decision in process is, number 1, government has acquired this land, and like I said, generally lands are owned communally, right? So government eventually, by virtue of the Land Use Act of 1978, acquires the land. And having acquired the land, the community will be like, let us approach the government and let us get back some of this land, part of this land. And that process really takes a lot of time. That process is cumbersome. It's a very long process. And it is not always guaranteed that it will be achieved, right? For those lands, here's what people do. They reach out to people and say, okay, we're applying for a decision in process, or we're applying to have the land excised, and eventually a decision is in process, right? And they're using that as a type to document. Okay, this is not the type of red flag we should entirely run from, right?
Okay, so hey guys, so this is Nigeria. Sorry about the network issues. Mr. Raymond will be back shortly, I guess. Are you available now, sir? Can you hear now?
Hello, Mr. Jeff, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Jeff.
Yes, boss. All right. So I'm sorry about the network issues. Mr. Raymond will be back with us shortly. If you're enjoying this, please let me know in the comments box. If you have questions again, please drop it in the comments. We are talking about red flags to avoid in a real estate deal. Like, what are the things you see? What are the red flags you will see in a real estate transaction to point that this is a dangerous deal. That is exactly what we're talking about. And you're on this channel today. This is my channel. I'm Jeff Anozie, if we've not met before. And my goal on this channel is to help you make profitable, safe, and peaceful, all right, real estate transactions in Nigeria. I'm based in Enugu State, Nigeria, but the goal is to just help you, inform you, give you the right information at every point in time so as to make the right real estate investments in Nigeria, all right? And this is the real estate show, and we've been talking about red flags to avoid, right, in a real estate transaction. Mr. Raymond is back, and we have talked about so far. One of the points we talked about is when the agent or when the person you're doing transaction with is irritated, by you asking a lot of questions. All right, please, are you back, sir? Can you hear me now, boss?
I can hear you.
Can we go
Hear
on?
you now, sir. Yes, we can.
Awesome. So, all right, boss. Let's go on, please.
I'm prepared for that disconnection, please. So as I was saying,
No problem.
in some it says that we're processing a session and it is not done. I was saying that it is not guaranteed because first I already said that it's a cumbersome process, and the truth about it is that the person sitting in the office that has the right to do that at that particular point or carry out the decision at that particular point may not just like your community or may not just like your face and decides not to grant it. The governor may not be interested in it. The governor may have a project in mind that wishes to use that land for. And you have already bought from the community on the basis of a decision in process. And at the end of the day, the governor says, in that land. And what happens to your money? That is the question. So, like I said, if you are powerful enough and you have the kind of connection that will make the governor excise that land, you can go ahead and buy. But if you are not, it is such that you should be cautious. Wow. So entirely it's kind of red flag that you run away from, right? But it's such that you should really ask certain questions. If you don't have the power to fight, just move on. Really, my opinion. So that's that. And the next is, are they insisting that you make a deposit before you inspect or see the land? If they are insisting that you should make a deposit before seeing the land, my brother, that your deposit is the money they're going to make from you. All right, so I think that's simple and straightforward. There's no reason they should insist. For God's sake, I drive clients around for days trying to show them property, and I don't take inspection fee. There's a reason for that, right? At the end of the day, some of these clients may not even buy from you. You have, in quotes, wasted time driving them around. But there's a sense of priority attached to this business, right? The client interest should always come first. So if someone is in that you should make a deposit or pay certain amount of money. In fact, some people don't just ask for basic deposit as far as like 10p, 5p, or 20p. Some even go to the instead of asking for 10%, 15%, or 20% of the amount you want to purchase the land, and before they show you the land. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Like I said, see property business or property buying as basic buying and selling. So imagine somebody saying you are going to pay a certain amount of money before you see this product. Product like I easily see. It's not like I'm ordering it online. Even when I'm ordering it online, I should have seen the picture or something. All right, so I think that's straightforward. Next, pardon me, just hold on a minute.
All right, so welcome, Mr. Austin Nee. Good to have you here, Mr. Austin. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for always being a support. You have always been a support. Thank you, Mr. Osita. Mr. Osita, thank you so much for joining us. You have always been a support. Thank you so much, sir. I hope you are learning. Mr. Osita had a question last section.
Yeah.
I'll try and find it before the end of this show. Otherwise, please, if you can, drop it again in the comments. Otherwise, I'll try and go and check it and I'll get back here. Okay, boss.
All right. So next, let's talk about this. They are not comfortable with you knowing their houses. Again, remember I said that if I want to sell something to you, I'm going to try to convince you by playing
Yes.
the transparency card. There are
Transparent
some
card.
landlords
Yes.
or agents who will they don't want you to know their house.
Mm.
They don't want you to know their office. So if they are finding it seriously difficult to show you where they live, they're trying to hide something. And for me, it's logical. It's logical. I Because I traveled out of town to get that job done, we checked out 5 properties, right? The agents showed me 5 properties. There are a couple of other agents that were involved in the transaction. And as I was dealing with this particular agent, as we're passing by, this guy said, "This is my house. I just packed in 2 weeks ago." Forward a bit, he showed me his father's house. We moved forward a
Wow.
bit. He showed me another. As I was doing this thing, I felt this level of confidence in
Mm.
dealing or having that a business transaction with them. But some
Yeah.
agents, they won't even give you a free phone number. If they give you their number, if Truecaller reveals that number, you will see something like mechanic, how is she? Oh, Jesus. Okay, so they try to be as invasive as possible, right? And that is a problem. Note, we're at a point in civilization where having an office is not compulsory. Is not compulsory the way I see it, right? But if somebody is just too invasive, there's a
Mm.
level of trust that having the office gives to you, okay? But then if somebody, by the way, you see somebody's attitude, you see somebody, someone who is trying to be invasive, trying to hide something, he's trying not to be
Yeah.
transparent. But I did investigation for helped a client. There were 6 of them that bought properties together, and this man took us to his house, introduced us to all his children one after the other, took us to where he sells his cars, right? And when you see this kind of people, you know that okay, this one is not even planning to run,
He's not planning
right?
at all.
You get. So there are just some attitude that you should look out for when somebody is trying to be unnecessarily invasive. He's trying to hide this, trying to hide that, trying to hide that. It is a problem, right? And part of how you get to know some of all these people is okay. Okay, agent, where you did? Let me meet you in your office. Or okay, in fact, be straightforward, sir. I want to know your house. Do you get? So by the time they start getting invasive, because when you ask direct questions, it's harder for them to. It reveals a lot of things. That's that. And next, the original document is missing. That's their word, their phrase. Original document is missing, and there's no genuine reason. Now, because what you should understand is when they are selling a land, most of the times when I own a land and I have 6 plots, the person who sold to me would give me original document or I'll be in possession of the original document. When I want to sell 1 plot out of that land, I don't give out the original document, right? I make a photocopy and give to you. as part of your title document. In fact, even in the title document is written that photocopy document is handed over to Mr. So and so, having bought one plot out of the 6 plots, right?
Okay, I'm
Now,
sorry, sir.
if the person, the last person who is buying, that 6 plots of land, the title document should be given to that person. And of course, you will see on the title document the number of plots that the person have, right? So if the person fails to produce the original document and there's no evidence saying that, because actually part of why it's important is because even when you lost an important document, you are expected to produce an extract,
Yes.
or show an affidavit document is missing. So if that is not the position, there's no genuine reason for the person telling you that the original document is missing. Please, out of 10 guesses, the number 8 for me, or the 8 amongst those guesses would be that they are withholding that original document so that they will use it to sell to another person.
Oh, wow.
So unless for no reason they are just withholding the original document, that is something you should dig in deeper into. That is something you should dig deeper into. And what else should we talk about? I think last we talked about the fact that only one executor is selling the land. I remember we talked about something like that, right, Mr. Jeff?
Yes, we did.
And I also talked about the fact that we cannot, they don't want you to involve your lawyer. They don't want you to use your lawyer.
Yes, we did last week.
Great. And I think let's end that. Let me just talk about government acquisition. Government acquisition, when government has acquired the land generally, and the person eventually reveals to you that this land has been acquired, it's best that you move away from it.
Wow.
And this is one I'm actually currently handling, and we applied to be sure that that land was actually been acquired by the government or not, because generally it is usually difficult for some persons to know that this particular area has been acquired by the government, and that is really an issue because it is not in a public domain. So you usually have to apply to office to find out, okay, the areas that have been acquired by the government. And when that is done, when the government has done that and somebody is claiming been acquired, this certain part of it has been acquired, that certain part of it has been acquired, this part has not been, it is important that you find that. As a matter of fact, if government has acquired, you hear that government has acquired this part of this place and where you want to buy is close to, always make sure that you double check, because most likely that part they are hiding from you or they are saying is not acquired may just be part of the lands that have been acquired by the government.
Wow.
And lastly, the matter is still in court. In their words, the matter is still in court, and we won it. We won the case. Now, how court processes work is that when at the High Court, when Mr. A wins and is now the owner of the land, right? The court adjudged him to be the owner of the land by virtue of the court judgment. It doesn't end there. If by virtue of that court judgment they sell to you, and for some reasons the other person wakes up to appeal that judgment, The Court of Appeal reverses that decision. You may have bought
Wow.
something. That is a problem.
Wow.
So, Mr. Jeff,
This is a matter of. So how do you ensure that when is a court judgment, that when the person tells you that it was in court but I've won, what do you then do to ensure that you get the property, or you should just run away? What do you do? Or what does the person that is selling, what does he have to do to ensure that he takes full ownership of the property?
all right. Here's how it works. If you're lucky and the person opens up and tells you that this land was in dispute or the land is currently in dispute, first, there are two parts to it. Like I said, the person says the land is currently in dispute, but it is our own and we are certainly going to win. Our lawyer has assured us that. That one, don't even go close to it. Don't even go close to it, because number one, the way this proceedings work in Nigeria, trial work in Nigeria is you are not certain of when the matter is going to end, and you are also not certain. There might just be a technical error and Mr. A will lose the case. Right? So no absolute certainty that this guy is going to win this thing. And you are buying on the basis, the assurance that his lawyer said, even though his lawyer is a senior advocate of Nigeria, take this from me, he can lose the case. Okay, so that was the first angle to it. The second angle is that the case was in the High Court and we just won. We just got judgment. They gave judgment in our favor. And most of the times, when people who do this kind of things are people that they won the land, they fraudulently won the case, right? And they want to quickly sell off the land. This is what they do. They start looking for buyers immediately. Now, if the person, you are lucky enough, the person reveals to you that the land was in dispute, what happens is a judgment will be produced. A certified true copy of the judgment will be produced. When that is produced, you check it out. But really, it doesn't end there. The other party may appeal the case. And by the time the person does that, the Court of Appeal, which is a higher court, can reverse that first judgment and take title back to the other person. And that's where the principle of least spending comes into play. We won't have time to explain that. But basically, until the Supreme Court, which is the apex court in Nigeria, the final court in Nigeria, endorses a judgment or reverses a judgment and finally says this property belongs to this person, just stay away from it if you can. I think I'll end there, Mr. Jeff.
Wow. Thank you so much. Do you know, sometimes I can't believe that this is for free. Like, I can't believe that this whole information right now, this is what a lot of lawyers will charge you hundreds of thousands of naira to consult you on. So quickly, let's just answer Mr. Osita's question before we go on. Please, again, if you're just joining us, this is the Real Estate Show. On this show, the goal is to help you make safe, profitable, and reliable real estate investments here in Nigeria. All right. And we've been talking about red flags. What are the red flags to see that should point to a very bad real estate transaction? Like the ones that you need to run, please, Ben Johnson, the ones that you need to investigate more. And we've had a very robust conversation within the last 2 days. If you missed the last episode, please go and look for it. It's somewhere in this channel. Go and look for it. If you like this type of videos, please hit the like button. If you've not subscribed at all, please hit the subscribe button so that you get to know whenever we come on with this type of information. If you're enjoying the conversation so far, please let me know in the comments. Please put a flex emoji in the comments, or type something happy, enjoying, whatever it is in the comments. If you have questions, please leave it in the comments box. Here is one question from Mr. Osita. Thank you, sir, Mr. Osita, for always jumping on this show. We appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much. So he's asking, thanks, Jeff. Please, I asked about getting a community land in the Nsukka part of Enugu State. A community land in the Nsukka part of Enugu State. How can those kind of lands be secured for the future without government interference? Now, Mr. Raymond, let's try and answer this. I'm going to answer after you have answered. You're going to be answering. Please help us answer from the point of view of a legal practitioner, someone that's in property law. Even though you made some points already, one of the points you made is ensuring the custodians of that communal property, who are the custodians, and making sure that all of them are involved. The head of the community, this secretary, they talked about at least an elder, a few elders, they should be involved in that transaction. But please, just generally in Nigeria, when you're trying to acquire a communal land, how do you ensure or secure the land from either fraud, these red flags we're talking about, or from future government interference?
Okay, you broadened the question a little bit. The Mr. Osita, thank you for the question, Mr. Osita. The sister made specific reference to government interference, and you broadened it anyway. So let me come from the angle. Like we said, I think, Mr. Jeb, I think the issue of securing the land from the general angle is pretty much wide, and I suggest that we would handle that specifically on a particular way. Right? Well, for respect to the angle of government interference, for government interference, basically by virtue of the Nigerian Constitution, okay, every Nigerian, every individual, every adult has a right. They are rights generally, but they are fundamental rights provided by the Constitution. And part of that right, as enshrined in the 1999 Constitution as amended, is that you have the right to own immovable property, and that includes land. And even the government, Constitution is a ground norm. By ground norm, I mean that it is, as it were, the most powerful document, the most powerful enactment as far as law is concerned in Nigeria. It has the capacity to override. As a matter of fact, it overrides any other law. Okay? And the Land Use Act derives its power from the Constitution. So where the Constitution says A and the Land Use Act says B, then the Constitution must take precedence over the Land Use Act. So here's my point. The Constitution has empowered you or given you the power to own land. And for whatever reason, government decides to say, also there's an exception to that. There are exceptions on that. Part of the exception is that government decides to use that land for public policy purposes, for public purposes. For instance, they want to build a university on that land that you have rightfully acquired. Now, at that point, what you will not be able to really stop the government from taking that particular land because there are exceptions to it. However, you are entitled to compensations. Right? You are entitled to compensations from the government. And there are certain levels of guarantee to you getting the compensation, but really, from experience, the best shot to getting the compensation handed from the government is if that land has a CFO. And again, remember that the CFO is like a Type 2 document, a certificate from the government saying that you own this land, right? So if the government has by themselves written and given you a certificate saying that you own this land, if they are going to forcefully take it from you, they are like what's the word to use now? They have every locus, every right. it is upon them, it is a responsibility upon them to satisfy you because they have already given you certificate over that land. And also that means that your name is registered with them. But for
Yep.
a deed of transfer, for instance, is not registered, they may now start how to do investigation to be sure you own the land and all of those things and that. But if you had gotten a C of O, they had already registered your interest and know that you own it. So it makes it easier for them to give you um, compensation because they've already registered your interest. But basically, government, by virtue of the Land Use Act, has the power to do certain things, but there are also exceptions to that. So stopping government from interfering, the chances are slight, but there are certain things you can do to ensure that the benefits you deserve gets to you.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. Now, you made mention of something. You said rightfully acquired. Rightfully acquired. The point here, I think that is just it. Once you're able to rightfully acquire that land, following the processes that ensures that, first of all, the land is genuine.
Yeah,
Secondly, you're buying from the right people. All right.
yes,
And then finally, you need to go perfect your documents. So once you, if like he said, if the land has a C of O, which is not so likely, most community lands don't have C of O, especially around the Enugu state here. I don't know about
yeah,
in Benin and in Lagos, but around the Enugu state, most community lands don't have a C of O, right? So you're expected to go do your own C of O. But
yeah,
usually there's a deed of assignment that has passed the whatever kind of document, usually a power of attorney or some form of registered survey or something, they pass on with a deed of assignment to you. If the community does not give you the deed of assignment, please get a lawyer, get barrister, get Mr. Raymond Ijeomah. He doesn't like to be called a barrister, I don't know why. But get him to help you design a deed of assignment, pointing out and stating clearly transfer of that particular property to you. Let all the parties involved sign. The head of the
yeah,
community, the secretary, and like he rightly said, one or two elders to stand as witness, all right, that land has
yes,
been transferred to you. Then with that, your deed of assignment and with probably a registered survey or whatever other document that was given to you, please take it to Ministry of Lands. All right, take it to land registry and go and register it. Say, hello guys, I am now the new owner of this particular property. So that, like he said, according to the Land Act Use of 1978, all lands in Nigeria belongs to the federal government. And so let's say they want to, like he rightly said, they want to now come and position a school or a park or a hospital, whatever it is in your community, which is a good thing, by the way, all right? They will be, by virtue of that document you have, like he rightly said, you have registered with the ministry that particular property is your own. All right. So by virtue of that document you have, you, Mr. Osita, will be duly compensated. And the money sometimes is not small, it's some good money. So they'll either give you some very good money, all right. Like I remember in Lagos when Deeper Life, right, were trying to build their headquarters in Bagada, there in Lagos. Now, this is not a government organization. It's Deeper Life, it's Deeper Life Church, and they needed to buy up space for a parking lot. I don't know who else knows. I mean, for those in Lagos, if you know Deeper Life in Bagada, one of the most beautiful edifices I've seen of a church. All right, they wanted to buy up space for their parking lot, and so they needed to buy up people's lands and houses. It's in Bagada, in the heart of town. All right, so they needed to buy up people's lands and houses in order to demolish and then build a parking lot. And they were going to build an underground tunnel from the parking lot to the church so as to avoid or reduce traffic. My brother, at that point, I wish I had the land there. They compensated these guys adequately. Wow. I know someone that when his father died, his older brother went to take good land, a good property in different places in Lagos, and he dashed the guy a bacha. There's a bacha that was in Bagada there, and Deeper Life came to buy this guy's bacha with the land in which the bacha was. My brother, as soon as he collected the money, he janded, like he went abroad. All right, he went abroad. The guy janded, you know. So that's to show. That's just that. I mean, and that is Deeper Life. When the government takes your property like that, so long as the property is duly registered, and that is why you need people like Barrister Raymond here, so as to consult you when you buy community properties or you buy lands like that. You need guidance, all right? And that is why we're having this show. That is why we're having these things we've just shared right now is what property lawyers will charge you for consulting, and you're getting it for free. So I hope this answer helped you and helped other people that are watching. Thank you so much, Mr. Raymond. Thank you so much for your time. We have had a very interesting conversation. It's already 9:30, and we're going to be drawing the curtains here. Please, if you missed this section, please go and watch it again. I'm Jeff Anozie. I am your real estate consultant, and with me on this show is, okay, there's a barrister here too. So this is Barrister Raymond Ijeomah, and that is his contact. That is his number. Please, if you have questions, further questions, or you have some deep consulting you need him for, that is his number. Please call him. He also runs a real estate company, Fort Real Estate Company. He can help with that as well. Okay, Mr. Austin is asking, please, what if you're faced with a community with different factions claiming authority to sell their land? The factions are presenting and making statements you cannot verify. My brother, please go and befriend Hussein Bolt. Go and befriend him. He's your friend right now. Hussein Bolt. When there's this type of issue, see this kind of issue, I don't have hand, like, I don't know what to say to you. Please, Raymond, please, do you have anything to say to this? Community disputes. Take off. Take off. See, you must not buy that land. There's a lot of property around to buy. You must not buy that land. There's a lot of property.
Use that kind of money to vacation than to buy.
Please take off. Take off. It's not worth it. Thank you so much, Mr. Osita. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. I've had a very amazing time. It's always a privilege and an honor to have you on this show. It's always a privilege and an honor to come on live and share with you all. Thank you, Mr. Osita, for watching. Thank you, Mr. Austin, for watching. Thank you, Brian, for watching. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We're going to draw the curtains here. Please remember to like this video, share it with everybody you know, so that they'll watch and know. Let information go around. When there's information, right, crime reduces. All this scam and all these things we hear will reduce. All right. So till we come your way again next week Sunday we're going to announce the next show. All right. Till we come your way again for the next show. Please stay safe, stay healthy, stay blessed. Please, Mr. Raymond, do you have any last words for us? Yes, boss. Please, do you have any Final words, Barrister Raymond.
I just want to say I love them all. Let's all
Wow.
keep being smart, and we, myself and Mr. Jeff, would always be here for you.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, boss. Thank you, Mr. Austin. Enjoy a good day and a blessed week. Stay safe, stay healthy. Bye for now.